Hi, welcome to Mimi Craft, your home for all things creative and DIY on a budget. I make all the mistakes so you don't have to. Today's video is both sweet and romantic. For Valentine's Day, a little bit of tabletop and or tiered tray decor in a romantic style. Hope you enjoy it. This plaque was purchased at Dollar Tree. I'm just using the frame for this first project. First, I pull out those little backing doodad things and didn't show you that I actually took the plaque out. I use these wooden stickers from Dollar Tree, the smallest size. Gonna need 4 of them. I removed the sticky dots from the back of the hearts. You don't have to be super thorough, you just need to make sure that the hearts can lay very flat. I used some scrapbook paper left over from another project to cover 2 of the hearts. After I cut them out, I used a glue stick to glue them to the hearts. The paper ended up being just a little bit larger than the wood heart, so I used some sandpaper to get a really good edge. On the back side of one of those hearts, I found the exact center. Next, I took a wooden skewer and just traced the width of it on the back of the heart. We're going to be placing the skewer on the back of the heart. I placed down some double-sided tape to keep the heart from moving while we cut it. I used a ruler and a sharp utility knife to cut the heart in half on those lines that were made by the skewer. The double-sided tape worked really well stabilizing the wood while I was cutting it. Here are the 4 pieces that resulted from cutting those 2 hearts. I'm using Aleene's tacky glue, and I'm going to glue these 4 pieces together. If they don't match up perfectly, I'll correct that upcoming. There, fix the mistake. I took one of the uncovered wood hearts and glued that on top of these 2 pieces. This creates a little channel for the skewer to fit in. See that little space there? I painted the skewer. I chose ballet slipper pink mixed with white to lighten it up. I made a marking for where the skewer should be glued down. I made a mark right in the very center of the skewer so I knew where I should place it. And now the glue. I guess you could use hot glue, but I just don't like to work with it if I don't have to. Make sure this is super straight and then just let it dry. Time to paint the frame. I painted the entire frame, top, bottom, front, back, insides, outsides, because I wanted this to be 2-sided. This is the same color that we painted the skewer with. I cut some painter's tape in 1/4-inch strips that were 1.5 inches long, and that's because I want to put a design on the front. I'm just going to tape off some real tiny little stripes. Place the tape exactly on the edge, on the outside and the inside. that's going to give me a spot for about 1/8 of an inch little design. And then right on that miter corner, I put a piece of tape, and then underneath. And I'm using Rub and Buff antique gold wax. And here I am putting it on. You have to kind of dab it on so it doesn't get up under the tape. And there you see the first corner. I should say the first side. Now we'll do the top side, exact same way, and you'll see in a second what I'm going for. And I do the same thing on the opposite corner. I'm just doing the upper right and the lower left. Now I'm taking some more of that same wax and I'm going to put it on all the edges of the frame all the way around. You could use a brush for this too. It's just sometimes I like to use my finger instead. I did all of this on the back side as well. I used 6 beads from one of those Dollar Tree bead wreaths. I think they're about 12 millimeters, and then the other 6 beads I think are 8 millimeters. Don't quote me. The little ones I got at, I think, Hobby Lobby. So I painted the bigger beads pink and the smaller ones this mint green. I mixed this folk art Dutch aqua with white to get that color. When I use a skewer for painting beads, this is how I dry them. I use the Rub and Buff on all of the beads as well, right in the center. Use my finger for this one too. Now it's time to put this together. On the back side, I took that skewer that I painted pink before, and I measured it to fit inside that outer frame. Just use a pair of scissors to cut it. Needs to go right in the center. So what I did is I took a measuring tape I should say, and I folded it in the exact spot that was the length and marked it, and then just folded the measuring tape in half to get the center. That way I didn't have to do any math. I didn't have a millimeter tape measure to use, and this is just a much easier method. And I just put a little mark where the center was, and then did the same thing for the other side. Next I found the middle of the skewer. Put a little mark there, and that's where the heart's going to get glued on. So now we're going to take all these heart pieces and we're going to put them together. I loaded up the heart with some tacky glue, Aleene's, and then put the other half of the heart on. I pressed it down and allowed it to dry. I painted the sides of the heart with some Rub and Buff and did a little bit of Rub and Buff on the edges too. put on the beads alternating large and small. I added some glue in the very center of the back side of the frame to place the little skewer with the heart on it. And a drop on each end too. I made sure everything was exactly where I wanted it to be. And let it dry. And this is how it turned out. This little frame is left over from my daughter's wedding shower. They were place card holders that I bought at Hobby Lobby. And I'm starting out with that same really pale pink, and I'm very lightly brushing it all over the frame, leaving most of the white showing through. I measured the inside of the frame so that I could cut a piece of that leftover scrapbook paper to put in there. This got some rub and buff too. I started with applying it with one of my fingers, went all the way around, but then switched to a brush to get into some of the deeper crevices. I took one of these long toothpicks from Dollar Tree, took that little heart off the top. It looked to be a real good color match. So I just put some glue on it and placed it in the center of the scrapbook paper. That's all there is to it. Easy peasy. Now we're going to use the rest of the plaque. First I took off that word and flipped it over because that's the side that we want to use. I'm going to be making 2 mini books, and the size is 3 by 4. Biggest reason I chose that size is that this plaque was already 3 inches wide. So I was able to get a front and back cover from this plaque, and then I just went into my stash for the other book to do exactly the same thing. You can see here I made my first cut and then sanded the edge really well, and then use that as a template for the back cover of the first book. I took the paper off because it was just kind of really bumping in the way. I'm using that super light pink color again, painting all sides, all the edges, front and back. By the way, I had another plaque for those extra 2 pieces. This was really taking a lot of paint, so I decided for the rest of them to go with white first, just so I didn't use up all my pink paint. I'm going to estimate 3 coats, 1 white and 2 pink that I used on the whole project. This is chalk paint, by the way. Took a little bit of white and just dry brushed on all 4 of them, so it would just be a little bit more interesting. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but really pretty in person. For the inside of the book, I took a Dollar Tree paperback, and I estimated how thick I wanted the book to be. Opened it to that part, got it as flat as I could get it, so I could cut that section out. You want to keep the binding in place, so you want to get as close to the very inside of, that center part there as you can. I took off the front and back covers, by the way. Not sure if I needed to do that, but it's done. My first cut is for the height of the book. Now, typically a book is going to be a little bit smaller than its cover, so I cut the actual pages to be about 1/8 of an inch smaller all the way around, which meant that the height was 3 3/4, and then the width I only had to do 1/8, so that was, what does that make that? 2 7/8. Math is hard. Next, I cut the width. Hopefully it's obvious that you'll do the same for the other book as well. Next, I covered the inside of both the front and back covers of the book with cardstock. I used a glue stick to cover the inside of the book cover and then turned it over and placed it right on the paper. Then I used my blade to make the cut. Then I put it together with some masking tape and some tacky glue. First I put glue on the spine of the book, and then I laid the masking tape right on top of that, making sure that it was centered. Then I trimmed the excess tape. I knew that the masking tape was going to be a little bit more forgiving than packing tape or duct tape or something like that. I'm going to add some glue to the sides of the tape as well, but I don't want any of it to get up on that paper, so I'm using a paintbrush to make sure that the glue stays only on the tape. Next, I place the front and back covers. Paper side in against the pages, nice and snug. Be sure the tape is pressed down firmly on the spine, and then gently fold down the tape. Smooth it out, make sure there's no bubbles. I painted the tape the same color as the book. This took, I think, 3 coats. So I missed a little footage. What you see here is that I took some of that same scrapbook paper and I took a wood heart that I had and I traced it onto the paper. And instead of cutting the heart out, I tore it out to give me those rough edges. And now I'm highlighting those rough edges with the rub and buff. I attached the heart to the front of one of the books with a glue stick. These are gem stickers from Dollar Tree. What I did was I cut out all the very little gems, those smaller ones, to go completely around the edge of the book. Here I am attaching them. Off camera, I highlighted them with rub and buff. When everything was dry, I applied a coat of matte Mod Podge, front and back. And here it is. I don't recommend you do this next step. What you should do, instead of what I'm doing, is buy some peel and stick letters and paint them, or if you want to use the rub and buff, put rub and buff on them, and then you can peel them off and put them onto your book. I didn't have any, and I didn't see any at the store that were a shape that I liked. So what I did is I took rub and buff on a blank sticker, and then I went into the app Canva, and I printed out the word love in this font, and then I traced it right onto that sticker. And you'll see in a little bit that I'm going to cut it out. It was really difficult to do, so I don't recommend you do this if you're an advanced crafter. Maybe you'd like to try it. Your other option is to paint directly onto the book if you want a word on the book. I didn't have any paint that was comparable to the color of the rub and buff, so I really wanted it to match. This left a very clear impression for me to cut out the letters. I used a very sharp blade to cut these out instead of using scissors. This is the same gem set as before. I used the entire strip instead of cutting parts out of it for this book. And now I'm just deciding where I want my letters to go before I peel and stick them on. Next, I use some matte Mod Podge to seal the whole book. This will keep the letters from peeling up, and it'll keep the gem stickers from peeling up as well. It'll protect the paint. I used rub and buff to highlight all the gemstones. I used the wax on all the edges as well. And here she is. I'm so happy with the way these turned out. This is the first time I ever made mini books, and I just think they're so adorable. And I just love the way everything looks together in my home. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel again today. If you like what you saw, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you know whenever one of my videos drops. Thanks again. Bye.